So recently I've been seeing a lot of videos popping on YouTube and lots of comments flying around about who to pull if I'm a new player, who to pull if I'm a veteran. Should I pull for 1.5 characters or save for 1.6 and so on. And I get it, it's like a character buffet going around where everything and everyone looks tempting, but obviously you can't get everyone. There are 3 awesome characters releasing this patch and then 2 coming in the next, which makes it super difficult for F2P low spenders like us to make a decision on who to pull. So I thought why not make a video on this and share my overall thoughts and all. And since there is still a few days remaining till Huo Huo goes away, which makes this the perfect time. And just to make it clear, these are just my personal opinion on these characters as a day 1 player. I just wanted to throw it out there as these videos tend to attract a lot of unwanted arguments, which is kinda annoying. Anyways, with that out of the way, I'm Sho and these are my thoughts on the current and upcoming characters in Honkai Star Rail. So, the whole issue is caused by these 5 characters: Huo Huo, Argenti, the Silver Wolf rerun, and then the next patch brings Ruan Mei and Dr ratio. And everyone looks really tempting, not just because they look cool and all and are fun to play, but they are super meta. Now before I dive into who to pull, let's just briefly go through their kit and see what they can offer. Silver Wolf is of course not a new character, she's been there for quite some time now, and most of you guys are already familiar with her kit and how she works. She has been through countless trials and still came out on top, so much so that players have given her the title, the closest thing to a must pull. And why is that? It's because she offers so much. Setting aside her main gimmick, even without her skill, which we will discuss in a bit, she has so many debuffs in her kit. Her talent has 3 types of debuff, of reducing attack, reducing speed, and reducing defense. And she can apply them even with her basic attacks. So unlike other characters, whose basic attack turns are like dead turns, where they do nothing except generate skill points, Silver offers much more. And when we take her skill into account, she becomes even more goated. Her skill allows her to inflict any type of elemental weakness to an enemy based on the elements in her team. And why that's a big deal? Because it bypasses the core mechanic of the game. You know, any Huo Huo game or like any game in general has some kind of unique mechanic which players need to build their teams around. And HSR has their elemental weakness system, where if you're not doing the same elemental damage that the enemy is weak against, you deal significantly less damage. And this mechanic prevents players to use the same characters again and again and gives them a reason to pull for new characters. But Silver just bypasses that whole mechanic. She provides something that nobody does. As an F2P, you cannot get characters fast enough. You need to plan and save for characters, and that takes time. As a result, you get stuck in various challenges. Like I was stuck in a certain floor of Forgotten Halls for a long time because I didn't have a properly built character of the element that was required. But Silver changes that. She literally opens up so many possibilities, especially for new players, and that justifies her being the closest thing to a must pull. And if you're a new player, and for context, for me, a new player is someone who has played this game for less than 2 patches, then she becomes a must pull, period. She makes your early game experience much better in terms of progression, clearing content, making teams, everything. Everything is so much different for an account with Silver Wolf compared to an account without one. Next we have Huo Huo, an abundance character who has exceptional healing and cleansing, but also provides attack buff and energy for the whole team. And that's pretty much what she does. But why that makes her so sought after? As we play through harder and harder content of this game, our team composition changes based on the requirements of the content we are doing. And in a typical Huo Huo fashion, in the highest difficulty is like a race, where you are required to deal a certain percentage of damage in the given time limit, and in the case of HSR, in a limited amount of turns. And that makes you want to add more offensive options to the team than defensive ones. Initially when the game started, most players used to have one preservation character and one abundance character in the team, but that won't work anymore, as just 2 offensive characters won't be enough to deal enough damage to clear the stage. But you can't just take 4 DPSs, because now not only the enemies are super tanky, they deal insane damage as well, so you are required to have at least some kind of help. So the best solution becomes taking just 1 healer and 3 offensive characters, and that certainly works, but it's much harder, and characters like Natasha and Bailu doesn't provide as much to the team except healing. And that's where these premier defensive characters comes up. Characters like Luocha, Fuxuan, and now Huo Huo. All these characters provides not just more than enough sustain to clear the challenge, but more. Luocha is like a skill point generating cheat. He never uses a single skill point and can perform everything in a skid off turn. Fuxuan can provide you so much bulk that getting one-shotted by the enemy becomes a thing of the past. She also provides crit rate to the whole team. Huo Huo is literally an abundance character and a harmony character character in one, providing offensive buffs better than even some of the Harmony characters. All three are best at what they do, and adding just one in a team makes a night and day difference. Without them, you have to worry about skill points, buffs, sustain, and with just one of them, all these things gets taken care of by just one character. That's why having at least one of these three characters in your account brings it to a new level. Now before I talk about Argenti, let me go over Ruan Mei's kit first, as I want to go through all the supports first. So Ruan Mei is going to arrive in the next patch. She's an Ice Harmony character, and probably going to be the most busted Harmony character in the entire game when she comes out. And why do I think so? Because just like Silver Wolf, she provides something that nobody else does. Let me expand on that. So up till now, our concept of this game has expanded in so many aspects, and now we have more variety amongst the teams we can build. First, Silver opened the path for decreasing the enemy resistance and defense, with the added benefit of not needing to worry about elemental weakness. After that, Kafka got released, who brought new light to all the DOT teams. And then recently we got Topaz, who made follow-up attack characters more viable. But there is still one aspect that is completely undiscovered, completely unknown, and that is weakness break. Weakness breaking is a core mechanic of this game. A broken enemy will take more damage than an unbroken enemy. Not only that, breaking an enemy will delay their turn and add additional effects based on the element. Like an ice weakness break will freeze the target. In combat, we desperately try to break the enemy so that we can dish out more damage. But there is no actual way to break the enemy faster, except for that one nihility blessing in the simulated universe. And because of this, other stats gets overshadowed. Like the break effect stat is something that doesn't get much love, and it's probably one of the most unused stat in the game. The only place where it is used often is in DOT characters, but other than that, nowhere else. And that whole thing completely changes with the arrival of Ruan Mei. Her whole kit revolves around weakness break. She increases the weakness break efficiency of her whole team, making you break the enemy faster. And since as a result the enemy will be broken more often, a stat like break effect will provide more value than attack. And not just that, she can also provide her whole team increased rest pen, making your characters ignore resistance when dealing damage. And it doesn't stop there. She can provide damage boost and to some extent a bit of speed to the whole team. Her whole kit is broken from beginning to end, providing exceptional buffs to the whole team. And I think we sorta expected this, as a 5-star limited character will obviously be better than a standard character, right? And since the Harmony path in this game has some of the most broken characters, including Bronya, who is the best buffer in the game, Ruan Mei just had to be better than her. And this is what we get. A busted character with a busted kit. Personally, I would put Ruan Mei at the same height as Silver Wolf. She's above characters like Kafka and Topaz. Because not having those characters does not hinder your progress. It just shortens your views on team building. But you can always just ignore those teams. Like without Kafka, don't build DOT teams, or without Topaz, just don't build follow-up attack teams. There are other teams that are just as good or even better in some cases. But by not having Ruan Mei or Silver Wolf, you literally diminish your progress. They are not characters that excels in one aspect of team building. These are characters that can be used in every single team available. And just by not having them, you just made every single one of your teams weaker. By not having them, you yourself choose not to upgrade your teams where they could have been better. And this is why I think Ruan Mei might be the second character to be closest to a must-pull unit. Now I want to cover both Argenti and Dr ratio at once, as they are just standard damage dealers. Argenti is a physical erudition character with really good damage and a nuke as its ultimate, but it does cost insane amount of energy, so characters like Ting Yun and Huo Huo are highly desirable teammates for him. Dr ratio on the other hand is going to be an imaginary hunt character whose whole kit revolves around follow-up attacks. His skill has a chance to do a follow-up attack, and his ultimate applies a kind of debuff to the enemy, and when his allies attack the debuff target, Dr ratio launches a follow-up attack. And that's basically it. With so many follow-up attacks built in his kit, makes him the most consistent follow-up attack character, and most likely the best teammate for Topaz. And vice versa, as Ratio will also desire Topaz as a teammate. Both of them has great damage, but that's basically it. They don't provide anything else except for damage, and that's what makes them easily replaceable. So choosing between them becomes less about value and more about your preference, because they are good damage dealers, and damage dealers can be replaced by others. You never ever need to pull for a specific damage dealer, not even Lune or Jingliu. Like if you have Clara or Su Shang, you don't really need Argenti, or if you have Lune, then you don't really need Ratio. The only thing that separates damage dealers from other damage dealers is element, and Silver Wolf can even bypass that. The only thing that these two characters can provide is a much easier time clearing content than someone like Clara or Su Shang. And let few patches pass, and another physical carry or an imaginary carry will come out, who will be better than these two. DPS characters get replaced all the time, So it's better to choose someone you like or someone who fits your playstyle. Like if you have Ting Yun or Huo Huo, then Argenti can be a great option. Or if you have Topaz, then Dr. Ratio becomes a better pick. So you yourself can decide who to pick between these two. Alright, now I have stated everything I know and think about these characters and what makes them worth pulling. I went through all 5 to give you a proper breakdown of their kit and why you should pull for them. And after all that, you should have a decent understanding on what to accept from these characters. So let me give you a simple pull priority list, which may help you decide on who to pull. I will divide this list between 2 segments, one focusing on a new player, meaning someone who has played for less than 2 patches and has only 1 or 2 DPS build. The second segment will be for late game players, or anyone who have played this game for more than 3 patches and have properly built teams for most of the endgame content. And with that in mind, this is going to be the pull priority list for a newer player. I have put Silver Wolf at the top because how much she provides for a new account when you don't have a lot of characters and cannot spare resources to build more than one team. Adding Silver Wolf to that account will make that one team capable of tackling everything in the game. Huo Huo is second because after you have that one team, you want a premier support, and in early game, your characters are not that well built to go full offensive with just one sustain, and that's when characters like Huo Huo becomes a great option. She can solo sustain a whole team even in crazy hard challenges and has great offensive buffs for the entire team. Now I have put Ruan Mei in the 3rd position because even though she's more valuable than Huo Huo, she still needs well-built teams where she can do her magic. A poorly built team will not only struggle to perform well in endgame, but also diminish Ruan Mei's own value. Lastly, the 2 DPS are at the same level. I don't think I need to talk about them much. You can just choose whichever you want based on your preferences and playstyle. Once again, this is not a who is better tier list. This is just a pull priority list to help you set a goal on who to aim for based on where you are in the game. And if you have some of these characters already, then just look for the next one in the line and aim for that. Anyways, let's move on to the second segment of the list for the more experienced players. Now for this list, nothing changes except the place of Silver Wolf and Ruan Mei gets swapped. Here, since you are a more experienced player and have more than just one well-built team, the value of Silver Wolf becomes less and less as you now have specific characters to deal with specific elements. And here, Ruan Mei becomes more prevalent as she can make those well-built teams more busted. As for Huo Huo, she's here based on the fact that you still don't have any of the other 2 OP sustain units, them being Luocha and Fuxuan. But if you do have them, her overall value becomes a bit less. And lastly, the 2 DPS characters are the same as usual. Just pick whoever you like or whoever fits your playstyle. If you have Huo Huo or Ting Yun, then go for Argenti. If you have Topaz, then go for Dr. Ratio and so on. Overall, they are not so different in their pull value. It's just DPS characters will never have the same value as supports if the only thing they offer is damage. You can look at other Hoyo games to confirm that. Supports will always be at the top. And I hope this simple list helped you make a proper decision if you are stuck and can't make a choice. And I guess that's it. These are my thoughts on these 5 characters and what I would recommend if you are new or a veteran. Once again, I want to specify that these are just my personal thoughts on these characters and different people may have different opinions. So please don't come at me with your crazy arguments if you don't like the placements. So thank you very much for watching. If you found this video helpful, drop a like and subscribe for more Star Rail and Genshin content from yours truly. With this, I think I've discussed everything I need to discuss for this current patch of HSR. So the next few videos might be on Genshin as the version live stream is pretty close. So stay tuned for some more Genshin content. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in my next video.